Hey everyone, Melting Man 234 here with another Archie Sonic Review. Today we'll be looking at issue 9 that was published on January 1994. We see on the cover that there are two Sonics rushing in to save Sally from being crushed by a safe. The design of the cover is more of a spoof off of the Flash comics from the Flash of Two Worlds issue. In the first story, Pseudo Sonic, Robotnik unveils his latest creation, Pseudo Sonic, a robot duplicate that has all the same abilities as Sonic does. Meanwhile, the real Sonic is out picking some flowers for Sally until Betty Butterfly tells him he's picking flowers from a poison Sonic blossom field. So the stuff is similar to poison ivy, as Sonic starts itching like crazy and swells up all over from the rashes. Meanwhile, Pseudo Sonic manages to fool Antwan and making his way into Knothole, where everyone notices that it's not the real Sonic. Well, so much for Antwan being a loyal guard to the Acorn family. Pseudo Sonic is about to tell Robotnik the location to Knothole, but the connection is disabled as Tails drags his two tails around the ground to create static electricity, causing Pseudo Sonic to malfunction and fall to pieces. While they examine him in Rotor's workshop, meanwhile the real Sonic is still suffering and is too weak to do a Sonic spin, which gives Robotnik the chance to blast him. Luckily, thanks to Betty Butterfly telling them where Sonic is, Bunny leaps into action as Robotnik is surprised seeing a half-robotic Mobian, which is weird because he's already seen her in the previous issues. So Bunny sends Robotnik back to Robotropolis, and notices Sonic is covered in rashes, and gives him a douse of ointment that her grandma made. Just don't ask what it's made out of. So everything's back to normal as Robotnik is defeated, and Pseudo Sonic is trashed and won't be coming back. Or is he? In the second story, What's the Point? Sonic has a bouquet of flowers for Sally's birthday, but he runs too fast and now he has no flowers, all because of the force of gravity.
Ah, Gravity, thou art a heartless bitch.
So while Sonic tries to think of another present for Sally, a strange bird falls from a tree and lands on his head. It turns out that it's a Mobian needle bird, half porcupine with a wounded wing, and probably the only one who hasn't been roboticized by Robotnik. After feeding it some berries, Sonic decides to bring the bird home for a gift for Sally's birthday, but Sally isn't pleased about it as she reminds him on the other times they brought in innocent creatures, like a beaver who turned out to be a robot, a squirrel with a tracking device, and a baby deer who turns out to be a bombardier. Man, those are some pretty strange cases like the bombardier. Maybe it's trying to kill the people who killed its mother. Next thing you know, they'll bring home a lonely cat who turns out to be a creature from outer space. So while Sonic tries to reason with Sally, the bird, who Sonic calls Thorny, starts eating up Sally's cake full of needleberries, and she orders Sonic to get rid of Thorny and leaves to pick some berries to cool off some of the stress. Sonic finds a spot where Thorny will be safe high up in the trees to heal his wing, until they hear a scream from a distance as we see Sally being captured by a creepy looking tree. Either she's entered the forest of no return, or it's a robot made by Robotnik disguised as a tree. And I know it's a robot disguised as a tree. So Sonic leaps into action, but first, gets some corny tree puns out of the way first. Now that those corns have sinked into your subconscious mind, Sonic almost gets captured by the tree, but Thorny comes in to save him. Wonder how his wing was able to heal so fast. Maybe because the long panel of cheesiness gave him some time to heal. So they dive bomb the creature and manage to destroy it by chopping off one of its arms, as Robotnik is about ready to blast them with his freeze gun, but Thorny manages to save the day by giving the egghead a taste of its thorny rage. So Sally forgives Thorny and makes him an honorary freedom fighter for his courage and helping them out of a thorny situation. So that's issue 9. The first story introduces the first robot duplicate of Sonic. In fact, the story was based off of an episode of Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog by the same name. There are some differences, like how Pseudo Sonic doesn't cause much havoc in this story, and he and Sonic never meet face to face, but he is given a personality instead of being a mindless, robot-controlled robot, which is nice. As Pseudo Sonic hopes to get a sequel at the end of the story, this wouldn't happen until years later in issue 170, where he and Sonic meet face to face after all these years. This issue also tells the readers that the walrus's name is Rotor and not Boomer to stop the confusion, as they would later explain Rotor is his real name and Boomer was just a nickname he had as a kid. But the story is pretty nice, as Sonic doesn't hog all the glory in this story. But how was Tails able to create static electricity when he's dragging his tails on a gravel surface? Who knows? The second story doesn't offer that much. It could have gone on longer or at least get rid of all those bad tree puns. Although Thorny becomes a freedom fighter, we never see him again after that. So the title of the story says it all. What's the point? But there is this funny one-page story about Robotnik having a fear of dentists, especially a dentist bot. For some reason I can see him being voiced by Boris Karloff, playing the character of the dentist bot. I don't know, maybe it's just me. Now let's move on to issue 10, that was published on February of 1994. The cover shows Sonic, Robotnik, and Crabmeat showing off some literal humor with the freeze frame gag. At least we don't have to deal with any more bad tree puns. In the first story, Revenge of the Nerbs, we see the freedom fighters trying to cut off some power supply from Robotropolis, only to have breaking the wrong wire, trapping them in an electric force field as an army of SWAT bots come to capture them. But then some weird Fraggle Rock reject pops out of a hole, who turns out to be a Nerb, a nerdy-looking character who is pretty rude. So the team ignore his arguments and dash down the hole to the underground village of the Nerbs, where the Nerbs live underground and blame the freedom fighters of their home being endangered from the outsiders. So basically, they're a bunch of nerds living in their mother's giant basement. Sonic tells them Robotnik is the cause of all this and suggests that they should team up, but the Nerbs refuse and the freedom fighters are on their own. So the team find an abandoned sewer system that Sonic used to play around as a kid, and knows it'll lead them back to higher ground. They hear a loud noise, and Sonic goes first to see what's going on, as it turns out that it's Robotnik and his metal goons tearing down the underground tunnels, and they have already captured a few Nerbs along the way. So Sonic tricks Robotnik into attacking him, and manages to dodge it and let it destroy the force field. He then grabs the Nerbs and brings them back to the freedom fighters, and dashes off deeper into the underground passages to find a way to stop Robotnik. He then discovers that the Mobius River is behind the sewer doors, and cuts them open, releasing a tidal wave of water. But Sonic is in deep trouble because he's forgotten the way back from panicking of releasing the Mobius River. Knowing that he can't outrun the rave forever, Sonic performs a super spin, tunneling upwards to higher ground, and notices the pressure of the water has reached Robotropolis and manages to fool Robotnik's plans at the same time. And so the Nerbs thank the freedom fighters, and to show them their apology, they make them honorary Nerbs by wearing their traditional clothing. Well, talk about Revenge of the Nerbs. In the second story, Twain with the Wind, we see the freedom fighters riding in an old-fashioned hot air balloon, looking for a good spot for their annual picnic, as we see two buzz bombers attacking the balloon, sending the group falling to the ground, landing on a branch. The team tells Antwan they should put aside the old balloon and keep up with the times with the technology, but Antwan refuses to give up on it. As the buzz bombers alert Robotnik that the freedom fighters are near, Antwan leaves to repair his balloon as the team continue with their picnic. That is until Robotnik comes in, charging in with an army of SWAT bots. While this is going on, turns out Antwan fixed the balloon, and is well armed with supplies such as tossing mud on the buzz bombers, filling the sandbags with bombs and dropping them at the SWAT bots, and swoops down and grabs Robotnik, giving him a good drenching in the Blake. The freedom fighters cheer for Antwan and later go home after the picnic, but they've run out of hot air, but as long as Antwan keeps yapping, they won't have to worry about it, since he's full of hot air. Although I wonder how they'll get down since Antwan emptied the sandbags, filled them up with bombs, and dropped them out of the hot air balloon. So that's issue 10. The first story is pretty interesting on how the team find a new group they refuse to join for certain reasons, find the real culprit and befriend them, with some spoofs of the nerd quality on having geeky Mobians or whatever they are. There's also a funny cameo of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which is a coincidence since Archie Comics made some Ninja Turtles comics back in the day. The Nerbs wouldn't be seen again until many years later in Sonic Universe issue 37, where it turns out some of them have become Dark Egg Legionnaires. Yes, they were fed up of being abandoned after all these years and decided to join Robotnik. The second story is a nice way in making Antwan be more of the hero instead of the coward, showing that with the know-how, old inventions can still function in the modern days. Well, sometimes. This is also the first time the artwork is done by someone else. Dave Manik usually did the artwork for the series, giving it a cartoony feel, while our Ma Winnie always gives it a cartoon feel, but gives it more depth and realism to the artwork. These two styles will keep switching back and forth for a while in the series, but I like Ma Winnie's design more better than Dave's look. So both of these issues have some interesting stories, have some characters who would be forgotten and later brought back, a new artist coming in, and there are some nice stories. Except for the story with all the bad tree puns. That just kills it. Well, that wraps up this Archie Sonic review. So this is Melting Man 234 signing out.